We now move on to the last part of Act 1, Scene 2. In this particular scene, we'll be discussing, three characters: Miranda, Prospero, and Ferdinand. Now, in fact, Miranda happens to be the only female character in this play. She's somebody who's so virtuous kind of a character, very naive. Her upbringing, as we know, happens on this island. She's somebody who has never seen anyone else on this island except her father, who's always busy with, magical things, and the ugly looking deformed Caliban. She has never lived a courtly life, in fact. Never that she's not that sophisticated the way the other girls of any royal or noble families might be. So Prospero, now it's very important to talk about Prospero here. He, he has a daughter who was just 3 years old when he was, forced to leave his own kingdom. And it is here on this island that they have spent around 12 long years. So, this 3-year-old girl has now grown up into a woman, and Prospero realizes that it is the time that he has to interfere in the matters of the country that he had left long back. In fact, he cannot leave Miranda here on this island forever. In fact, he has to secure her future. We know that the play also deals heavily around magic, and he has used magic for obvious reasons, like creating storm, Tempest at the beginning of our play, that is Act 1, Scene 1. No doubt he has this magical powers, right? But we also see that if this magic is in some good hands, like Prospero, right, in spite of Prospero having all his enemies around him, he could take revenge, but he does not. In fact, he doesn't hurt anybody. So the fact that he is somebody who doesn't use magic in the negative sense, so there's no doubt that he has a bigger plan. He hasn't unnecessarily hurt people, and we have the evidence when Ariel says as to everybody is perfectly okay. So he has a clear plan which as readers we might not be able to understand at this point of time. So now that he has this people, his own people, in form of his brother, the king who helped his brother, the king's son. So he has these people on this island, and we just have to wait and watch as to what will he do with these people. At the same time, we also know that he has intentionally dispersed these people, separated them in different groups. This is also something we need to find out as to why did he do that. Again, he has his own plans, right? There is also a special reference of the king's son being discussed by Prospero and Ariel, and he has been intentionally isolated from this group. Why so? We'll come to know very soon further in this video. Now we see that this king's son, that is Ferdinand, who happens to be the next character in our story, has reached at Prospero's cell, the place where Prospero lives with Miranda, and all the necessary requirements that Prospero needs to make things happen according to his larger plan that he has. We know that Ariel is there to do it because Ariel is not visible to anybody except Prospero in this play. So Prospero is the ringmaster, I would say. Um, he will play all the master strokes now. It is his inning, and he has to score well. He has waited so long, 12 long years for his batting. Right? He would not, in fact, wish to die here on this no unknown island with his daughter, who is now of a marriageable age. He needs to consider that factor too, that he has to settle down his daughter, and that is so very important. And considering all these facts, now we would explore this new character in our story, Ferdinand. So, here, a daughter of a marriageable age sees a new face, a male face, for the first time in her life. Miranda had never seen any other people except the deformed Caliban and his magical dad. So look at her first statement. What is it? A spirit? Now, why does she consider this Ferdinand as spirit? She might have observed so many things happening around her which were at times questionable in nature, considering Prospero's, you know, magic skill. So she would have felt the presence of somebody around her, knowing that though she was not aware that Ariel was always present, but she did feel certain things. She might have felt that. So that makes her ask as to, is this, a spirit? Yeah, right? And it carries a brave form. Now look at, your Ferdinand is shown in sharp contrast to Caliban, who is ugly and deformed. And here you have Ferdinand in a very, masculine form. Is it a spirit? To which Prospero says that, no, dear, it eats and sleeps. It has senses just the way we have. In fact, Prospero also makes it a point to inform Miranda that he is the same one that, you felt sorry for, thinking that all the people in the ship have been drowned. In fact, he is the same person. To which, look at her first impression that she has when she sees this only first human. Right? He is a thing divine. For her, it is more like he is more like godly creature, and I have never seen somebody so noble. And with this, Prospero is so happy, and these lines are so very important. Obviously doesn't speak these lines to anybody, but look at the lines. It's a side. It goes on, I see, as my soul prompts it. It goes on. So what is he trying to, in fact, convey? What goes on? So here we get a clue as to, yes, it was his plan that he was working on. Right? And he's so excited that in his excitement, he calls Ariel and he says, "Fine spirit, I will free thee within 2 days for this." Now, why 2 days? What would happen in these 2 days? Earlier, when Ariel asked for freedom, this question was very annoying for Prospero, and he made Ariel remind as to how dare you ask this question? Don't you remember the way I freed you from the pine tree that you were in fact punished because of, you know, your disobedience towards the witch Sycorax who lived on this island. And now somehow, you know, when he sees his grown up daughter seeing Ferdinand and getting so excited and curious to find more about him, he's very excited by this meeting of Ferdinand and his daughter. Something very obvious to be discussed here is how was it that Ferdinand could reach uh, and meet Miranda and no other characters on that are there on this island. So, who made this happen? The obvious question is, uh, in fact, Ferdinand was brought, and I would say he was lured to this place, and it was Prospero who wanted to see to it that these two people, in fact, meet. So we already have a villain in this story. In fact, there are ample in form of Antonio, Caliban. A hero was much awaited here. So here we have, the only female character that we have in our story, Miranda meeting, this man for the first time, and they fall in love. It was like, love at first sight. Now that the things are going a little smooth, this is not something that Prospero wants it to happen. Right now, look at the lines. I must uneasy make, lest too light winning make the prize light. Now, this is something so very important, right? So the moment these two people, see each other, they fall in love with one another. And Prospero believes that if you easily, get something, you undervalue those things. So Prospero tries to make it a little hard here, and in fact, charges Ferdinand that he's a traitor and he has come here to claim this island, which Miranda feels a little weird as to why was Prospero acting so weird. He did not mean, in fact, Ferdinand did not mean to do so. To which Ferdinand, who was under the illusion that he was the only one who has survived this shipwreck, and he has lost all of his, people. He says that his spirits are all, dull, bound up, chained. His father's loss, the weakness that he has. He had to swim all the way to reach on this island. He has lost all of his friends. This has, subdued him, and he is in no mood, to fight or challenge this old man that is Prospero. So here he says that, I don't want liberty. You can imprison me. All that I would like to have is, I would like to behold this maid once a day. So here we see the couple falling in love. And Prospero makes it sure that Ferdinand should, value the worth of Miranda. So he would bring in some issues to make him worthy of his daughter before he settles down his only daughter Miranda. It becomes pertinent here to discuss more about Prospero's character here. If we look into his past, we know that he wanted to better his mind. Now that he has landed here on this island, for whatever reasons, we'll not discuss that right now. But so did he achieve this, bettering his mind? Now that he had, 12 years all alone on this island, he never had any political ambition. We know that. And that was the reason that he gave the entire administration of his state, and he grew a stranger to his own state and gave the responsibilities to his brother. So he never had this political ambition. He was never committed to administration of his state or its governance. If we talk about, the original Prospero who was there in Milan as a Duke of Milan, he was more, you know, uh, uh, interested in the world of nature, not in the world of politics. Right, and because he was more interested in a different world, a world of liberal arts, that probably was the reason that he was thrown out of his office and he ends up on this island. On this island, he's not alone. We know that he's with his books. So he's somebody who has, this, who has dedicated his life to his books. In fact, I would say knowledge. And if you talk about this play is more a play wherein, Prospero exhibits his knowledge, his wisdom, for which he definitely paid a price, right? And this knowledge, this wisdom is clearly depicted in the way he deals with this people who are from Italy, who show up suddenly on this island. Now that Prospero is no more the same, weak Duke of Milan who is helpless and extremely engrossed and uh, strange to his own state. We now have a much evolved Prospero, the Prospero who stays on this island. Uh, Now he can just not, now that when he has his people on this island, he cannot just, go and tell these guys, and these guys who seemingly are his enemies also, that hey guys, I'm Prospero, let's get united and let's go back. Now things have changed. It cannot be so simple. Right? Neither can he say that I have a daughter of a marriageable age and I have lived 12 years here in this jungle. I cannot have my daughter staying here. I need to settle her down. He can just not make this things so obvious. So he is definitely in this political problem and he has to use this knowledge, this wisdom. He has to use, I would say, his cleverness and reinstate himself, right, back to where he belonged. He is now ambitious, unlike his original self. Prospero has learned a tough lesson, and this maturity would emerge into a different Prospero that we see into the next lines, next scene.